This is a sneak peek of Scott Forsman's Reading Street. We're going to be looking at 6th grade today. When you receive your homeschool bundle, you'll receive 2 textbooks, one for each semester. You'll receive a guide on the side. You'll receive a reader's and writer's notebook, fresh reads for fluency and comprehension, and weekly tests. To begin, the guide on the side is not like your typical teacher's guide. You probably or may not even use this very much, but as I flipped through it, I could see that it would benefit a student who's struggling in a certain reading skill area. So they have tabs broken up here into the skills of oral language, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, writing, and text structure. So if I had my child was struggling in fluency, then I could look into the fluency tab. I could read some research about fluency, see what some fluency goals would be for my child, how to implement a fluency plan into our reading, how to model fluency practice, and finally some activities that I could implement into our language arts program. So that's probably what you'll be using the guide on the side for mostly. Really, most of your instruction and your activities are going to be found in the textbook and in the reader's and writer's notebook. So within the textbook here, you'll have at the very beginning of each unit, you'll have a planning guide here, and they suggest planning in weeks. So you'll plan each of your stories into week blocks. So we're going to look at week 1, which would be Old Yeller. When you move into the story, especially at the beginning of a unit, you'll always run into, a unit introduction page telling you the skills and the stories that you'll see within this unit. And then you'll be working on some, background knowledge or some skills or introducing new skills that the child will be working on for the week. You'll see that they implement their own passages used for practicing the reading skill. You'll also see that there's discussion questions, comprehension questions, ideas of writing or project ideas. So again, all of your instruction and all of your practice is going to come from the textbook. I would suggest having a notebook handy so that when they come to these questions or if they need to do some reflective writing, they have a notebook handy and can just go ahead and jot down whatever it is that the lesson is asking them to do. It could also be just a discussion between you and your student as well. Then they'll finally get to the main story for the week and read through this story. Again, you'll find that every story has some leading questions for discussion or comprehension. At the end of each story, you'll see some thinking critically questions. Again, it can be discussion between you and your child, or it could be they could have you could have them write it out in their notebook. There's also some online activities. If you go to readingstreet.com, you could do some online activities that go along with the story. You'll be introduced to the author, and you'll also have a writing workshop. After that, it does extend through the subject areas, so you'll either have a story through social studies, science, technology, where they're now reading another story and comparing and contrasting the 2 stories. Okay, and then finally at the end of this week, there are some ideas, if you have time, to implement some activities or projects dealing with vocabulary, fluency, listening, and speaking. Okay, so that kind of ends your week within the textbook portion. Now, along with the textbook, they're going to be doing the Readers and Writers Notebook. Reading Street suggests that not only is your student reading from the textbook, but they're also doing some independent reading. So there's independent reading logs here that your child can fill out. At the very beginning here, there's going to be book report pages. So when they are done reading their main story of the week, in this case it was Old Yeller, they will find their book report page and write about their story. Now you kind of have to, this isn't organized very well. You kind of have to flip through here and find the other pages that go with the story that you're dealing with for the week. So for example, there's going to be more pages here. See, I can't even find it now. That deal with Old Yeller. Here we go. Now these are going to be your workbook pages that they're going to do along with the textbook each week. There's about 11 pages that they're required to do each week. So you're looking at 2 or 3 workbook pages that deal with the story each week. Now, the good thing about these workbook pages is here's where you're going to get your grammar instruction, your vocabulary, your spelling words, and some other writing strategy work. Okay, so workbook pages along with the textbook each week. Finally, if you flip kind of to the middle here, you'll see that each week also has a review page, reviewing those skills or spelling or vocabulary that was worked on that week. And then finally, if your student is struggling in the area of fluency or comprehension, I would strongly recommend implementing these workbook pages as well. If you know your student is doing great in fluency and comprehension, then this could be optional for you. You don't have to do this. But like I said, if they are struggling, this would be a good way to keep those skills alive and try and get these skills mastered. Just some extra practice. Again, it will tell you, the story at the top, so you know what pages to refer to. And it's just a fluency passage with some questions at the end to help with comprehension. And then finally, you have your weekly test. If you're a parent who likes to dish out the tests, again, you'll find the story that you were reading for that week, and you'll find the pages to your weekly assessment in the weekly test guide. So that's your basic, interaction for the week with this program. Now, I'm at the younger grade levels. It's not going to be as in-depth. I do have a second grade textbook here. And again, within the second grade textbook, it's pretty much formatted the same way. But of course, the stories aren't going to be as long. There's not going to be as many activities. I believe this does come with a workbook type of thing. But I just wanted to show you briefly here that even in second grade, you're still going to have your discussion questions and your reflective writing. You're still going to be meeting the authors. You'll be working across the subject areas. For this example, it's social studies. So you're still comparing and contrasting, 2 different stories or more. And it'll give you the skills and strategies again that will be the focus for that week, and some activities or projects to do with that. A lot of writing activities. And they'll implement some vocabulary. and some grammar and writing work as well. Okay, so again, even in the younger grades, a lot of your instruction will be just using the textbook, and you'll be good to go. So that was our sneak peek of the Reading Street Language Arts program. If this is something you're interested in or would like to talk about it further, please contact me, Star Williams, at 503-758-3636.